This is a problem using process costing with equivalent units. Company X produces a jelly filling for donuts. During February, Department Y, which had no beginning inventory, started on 10,000 units, measured in pints. The manufacturing cost included direct materials and conversion costs. Conversion costs consist of direct labor and manufacturing overhead. Department Y's were as follows: direct materials, $12,000. Conversion cost, $7,300, for total cost to assign of $19,300. At the end of February, only 8,000 of the 10,000 units started were complete. The completed units were sold are in the finished goods warehouse. 100% of the direct material cost had been added to the units still in process, but only 30% of the conversion cost had been incurred for the 2,000 units in ending work-in-process inventory. How is the cost of completed units and cost of work-in-process inventory not yet completed calculated for February? First, the flow of physical units must be summarized. This uses the formula beginning inventory plus transfers in minus transfers out equals ending inventory. There was no beginning inventory. Transfers in is 10,000 units. Transfers out are 8,000 units. So the work-in-process inventory is 2,000 units. Now we must compute the equivalent number of units produced for Company X. All direct materials had been added to each unit still in process, and only 30% of conversion costs had been incurred. Equivalent units for direct materials totaled 10,000 units. Equivalent units for conversion cost totaled 8,600 units. This is calculated by 8,000 completed and transferred to finished goods plus 600 remaining in work in process. 600 comes by multiplying 2,000 units times 30%. Next, we must summarize the total cost to be accounted for. This is the sum of the cost in beginning inventory and the cost incurred in the department during the period. Company X did not have any beginning costs. The current period costs are separated into direct materials and conversion costs, which were provided at the beginning of the problem. Then the total current period costs must be divided by equivalent units to determine costs per equivalent unit. This is where we take the total cost to be accounted for and divide that by the equivalent units for both the direct materials and conversion costs. The last step is to assign cost to units transferred out and units in work-in-process inventory. To determine this, the cost per equivalent unit is multiplied by the number of equivalent units for both direct material and conversion costs. For direct materials, cost assigned to units transferred out is calculated by taking 8,000 units that were completed and transferred out and multiplying by the equivalent unit cost of $1.20. For conversion costs, the cost assigned to units transferred out is calculated by taking the 8,000 units that were completed and transferred out and multiplying the equivalent unit cost of 85 cents. For the cost of ending inventory for direct materials, 2,000 units remaining in work-in-process inventory is multiplied by $1.20 of equivalent unit cost. And for the cost of ending inventory for conversion cost, the 600 equivalent units in ending work-in-process inventory is multiplied by the equivalent unit cost of 85 cents. See every